welcome to the Story Cafe. I'm your host, Karen Chase, and today we have with us storyteller ESHU BUMPUS. He is not only a storyteller, but he is an accomplished jazz vocalist and a master of physical characterization. He has performed at the Exchange Place for the National Festival in Tennessee, and he has visited over 26 states in America teaching and telling stories. He was recently awarded the Teaching Artist of the Year by Learning in Arts in Connecticut. He is a man of many talents. Please welcome ESHU. Hi, ESHU.
Hi, Karen.
I'm so happy you're here. It's great to see you. Always fun to see you. I know you had a little bit long drive today. Yes. So let's get started. I want to talk with you about some of these new residencies that you're doing in the schools. One of the things you shared with me was a project you did putting first graders and seventh graders together. I was fascinated by that because that's such an age difference. How did that work out initially?
It was interesting. This is a K-8 school, a little school in the community just north of Brattleboro, Dummerston, Vermont. Beautiful little community. And so I had done a few residencies in the years before, but because it was so many classes, I left out the 6th and 7th grade. So this particular year, we were trying to include them all. So I said, well, I'll mix the 2nd and the 6th grade and do a project with them, and the 7th and the 1st grade.
Brilliant.
And I talked to them to decide what they were going to do as a project. So they came up with the idea of doing jokes. Okay, I had thrown out a couple of possibilities, and they decided that would, and it was something we could do in the time. And so the idea was this: they would draw a self-portrait. The 1st grader would draw a self-portrait. The 7th grader would draw a self-portrait. They would record their voices saying the joke, and then with this software Crazy Talk, we would animate the self-portraits so that they could tell the joke. And the people at Crazy Talk were very good about it's a re-illusion. They were very good about selling the school a bulk license for the software, install the software, and then I taught the 7th graders how to use it. So they were able to do I tried to put as much as possible in their hands. So we met as a big group a couple of times, and I told them stories, and we listened to some of their jokes, and just kind of, and they were just so good together. The 7th graders, it's a small community, so they were so kind and so open to to spending time with these 1st graders and
wonderful.
Working together with them, and it was really beautiful. It was really beautiful.
Were there any siblings that were together? Maybe a 7th grader?
Yeah, you would think there would be more, but there weren't that many.
Not many.
But there were kids that the families knew each other and stuff, but there wasn't that many siblings.
And working with the computers, now that's great because that fits right into the core curriculum.
That's what we hope.
And did it take them a long time to do that animation?
Not really. There's always technical difficulties, and that's always the snag. So in the end, I kind of had to finish things, for them. But they learn really fast, and they're used to computers, and so as long as the computer itself works right,
sure.
they're fine, and they, we had a few classes where we had 10 computers, so 10 kids at a time could work on just, you have to set the face up. You take the drawing, put it in the computer, and you have to set it up to receive the animation, to receive the voice trigger that makes the face move. And so I saw
some of them. They're very clever.
It is.
Really well done. Now, at the end of this, was there maybe some sort of special event where the parents could see what was done, or?
We didn't do that this year. We have in the past had some, kind of final things. But there's so much going on, you know. So we didn't do a thing. It's just I sent them the links to put everything on YouTube and sent them the links so they could.
They must have loved that.
And I really like that, because then if you have relatives that live somewhere far away,
they can see it.
They can see what the kids are doing, and they can really kind of be in on it with them, and it's real fun. And you know, I was very happy with it.
Now you did another project too that I thought was really clever, but you used folktales.
Yes.
Instead of jokes.
Yes.
How did that work out? How was that a little different?
Now this was BART. This is a school up in the Berkshires, a charter school, and there's 6th through 10th grade. So I worked with the 6th grade, which was basically 3 classes. Each class had its own project, and this was a really nice connection. A few years back, Motoko and I went to Senegal, and really connected with one of the high schools there. It was an all-girls school called Martin Luther King.
In Senegal?
Yeah, and there was a teacher there that, like me, was really into technology and, you know, getting the kids learning technology and stuff. So he's an English teacher, so we were able to communicate.
Great.
And they were interested, and the people at BART were interested in making a kind of sister school relationship and sharing stuff between the kids.
Oh, wonderful.
So, so what I did was I kind of did a year-long thing with BART, where over the course of the year we did 3 different projects. First was storytelling, and we had the kids each learn a story, learn a folk tale, adapt their own version of the folk tale, and then we brought them to an elementary school and had them tell. In fact, 2 different elementary schools had us come, and the kids told stories. And then we got some nice videos of some of that, so that's on the YouTube channel that we could share with the kids in Senegal. And then in the middle of the year, we did a second project, which was graphic novels. And I wish I had brought that. I didn't bring that.
We just have to come back then.
Yeah, yeah. But so the kids wrote graphic novels, and I got to work with the art teacher on that project. And so they would take a story, a personal story. And now Motoko came up with this really clever thing years ago called Spark. And the idea is you look at personal growth, okay, and you say, well, now I have to remember what each thing stands for, but in terms of your personal growth, something might have changed your perspective, or changed your attitude, or changed your relationship, knowledge, you know, that kind of thing. So I started this project by giving each student a list of positive character traits. There was a whole page full of respectful, kind, clever, responsible, just a long list, okay? And I said, just check off everything that applies to you, okay? And it's important, you know, to get people thinking in terms of, just take a look at all these positive things that are true about you, you know? And for a kid that age, it's, you know, it's a valuable thing. So,
well, you're talking about sparks, and I want to get back to that in a minute. About adapting folktales. You talked about the students adapting folktales before. You brought an adapted folktale with you today.
Three Little Pigs, yeah.
The Three Little Pigs, a little bit of a fractured story there. Yeah. So I'd like to have you share that with our audience now, but also right after the story, we're going to show some of the clips that your students did. So that'll be wonderful for the audience to see. So would you do that now? Tell the story.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, let's do that. This is the story of the 3 little pigs. They lived within a house made of twigs. Next door there lived a nice wolf family, but their house was made of bricks, you see. One day the lazy pigs thought of a trick. They wanted to live in a house made of brick. They sneaked into the big house next door, waited till everyone was out at the store. Shabba-doo-dwee-ba, zabba-ba-doo-you-dwee. Be-ba-doo-doo-dwee-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. When the wolves came home that day, you know they didn't know what to say. The house was locked with the pigs inside. Mr. Wolf said, I'm gonna fix their hide. You little pigs, you better let us in. Not by the hair on our chinny chin chins. Mr. Wolf began to huff and puff. You know he just about had enough. Sweet ba-ba-da-ya-dwee-dee-dwee. Mrs. Wolf said, this has got to stop. Found a telephone and called a cop. The cop who came was named Chester Fox, the same one that blew the case of Goldilocks. The fox went into the house for a while, came out wearing a foxy smile. He never listened to the wolf's side at all, told them they would have to wait for his call. Shadoo-ba-doo-wee-ba-za-ba-doo-ya-doo-dwee. News reporters came that day. Here's what the little pigs had to say. The big bad wolf tried to get in our house. We're just as innocent as a mouse. And they've got a reputation. You hear it all across the nation. Mr. Wolf said there's no justice here. We have to leave the home we love so dear. Sweet baba tweet tweet bada yada dweeda zada bapwe bada yada dweedy. Now the wolves were left without a home. In the forest and the hills they roam. The pigs would never admit that they lied, but nobody ever heard the wolf family's side. If there's a lesson in the story today, it's always tell a story your own way. Never just assume that one side is true, 'cause there's always another point of view.
Presenting Dummerston School's 1st and 7th grade telling jokes.
Knock knock. Who dat? Boo. Boo-hoo! Oh no, I didn't mean to scare you so much I made you cry.
What does a cow drive when its car's broken down?
A motorcycle. What's red and moves up and down? What? A tomato in an elevator.
What do you call a fake noodle?
I don't know.
An imposter.
What's black and white and red all over?
What?
Newspaper.
Why did the picture go to jail?
Because he got framed.
Hey Emma, why can't you give Elsa a balloon?
Why?
She'll let it go.
Which dinosaur is a bodybuilder?
What dinosaur?
Tyrannosaurus Flex. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Open the door already. What do you call a cow with no legs? Ground beef.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Dwayne.
Dwayne who?
Dwayne the bathtub. I'm drowning.
What do elves learn in school?
Alphabets. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Queen.
Queen who?
Queen the dishes, please.
What does the gorillas learn in school?
The ABCs.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Orange.
Orange who?
Orange, are you gonna let me in? What animal tells time the best?
A watchdog.
Rudolph, describe a cinnamon.
A word you use when you can't spell the other word.
The new pond sounds so great. It looks like just the one for me. But visiting is not my fate. There is no way to get there that I can see. It's as hot as usual around here. Maybe I'll go see what the birds are doing. Hey birds, what's up?
Hey, have you heard? There's a new pond over near the mountain. It looks really nice. There's lots of food there too.
Oh, cool. I'd really like to go there. It would definitely be better than this place.
Well, you can. Follow me.
Okay, but I'm very slow, not as fast as you are.
Don't worry, just try to keep up with us.
I'll try my best. Why did you bring me here?
We thought the way that you could come with us would be to grab onto a stick that we carried while we flew to the pond.
What a good idea. There's one.
There. Now you're all set. Come with us to the pond.
What shall we do now?
Fly to the pond. Now you must keep your mouth shut or you'll fall.
We will help you get to the lake so you can fulfill your dream. But there is one risk you must take. We must work as a team.
Look, there's a turtle flying. Ooh.
Wow, look, birds carrying a turtle on a stick. That's such a good idea.
Yeah, those birds must be really clever coming up with the idea to carry the turtle across the mountains.
Hey, that was my idea. Uh-oh. Help me!
Don't worry, I will help.
Huh? Phew, that was close.
Oh no, are you okay?
I think so.
Oh no, your shell is cracked.
You're right.
Maybe you shouldn't have opened your mouth to speak when you were flying.
Yeah, otherwise you wouldn't have fallen.
Yeah, and now I know when to keep my big mouth shut.
We will help you get to the lake so you can fulfill your dream. But there is one risk you must take. We must work as a team.
That story was wonderful. I love the way you did that. Now, that's an original. You wrote that, correct?
Yeah.
And who knew you could sing like that? Just absolutely wonderful.
Well,
I loved
you.
it. And right after the story, you know, they got to see some of that wonderful work you did with the students before. But before your story, we were talking about sparks. So finish telling me about that.
Yeah, so it's skill, perception, attitude, relationship, knowledge.
Ah, nice acronym.
And, you know, those are aspects of personal growth. And so it gave a good target for how we focused the story. So I had them think about first, you know, there's all these different positive things about you. How do these things come about, or how do these things grow within you? And so different episodes in your life can lead you to growth. And so I had them start with 2 or 3 choices of some little event that happened. But I tell them, as an old storyteller saying, never let the facts get in the way of the truth, right?
True.
Never let the facts get in the way of the truth. So we want to exaggerate and build it up and make it about that change, about that growth. So, and that's what makes a graphic novel so much fun, is that you start out, so we're just doing an arc, you know, you start out, some little situation happens, but it snowballs into something really crazy, and then finally it gets resolved. But in the process, you learn something about yourself. You see it, you know, or you learn something about someone who you're in a relationship with, that you start to look at them a little differently, that type of thing. And so, you know, the kids did a good job with it. And so that was our second project for the year. And then the third one was the animation, the 2D animation.
So you were there for quite a while then.
So, yeah, so over the course of the year, we did 3 big projects together and then put the stuff on YouTube. And I sent the links to the folks in Senegal so they could see it. And
did you hear back from them?
well, the kids aren't doing that much. I don't know what they have for computers.
Oh, that's true.
And I know they have some, but I don't know exactly where they're at and what kind of time they have. So, and I hope to get back there and find out, you know, because I would like to participate in helping them build that up, you know.
Now, are these some of the
now
books?
these are books here. Like this one was from Dummerston.
We
now-
have the dog and Stompy the Dinosaur. What
yeah,
a
this is
great
good
title.
Stuff. This is good stuff. One of the things I love to do is have the younger kids write a story and have the older kids illustrate it
Oh,
for
that's
them.
a great idea.
So I have the young. So this was in Dummerston. This was the kindergarten, and then the 6th graders illustrated their story for them. So they wrote the story, and
That
each
is beautiful.
6th grader took a page to illustrate the story.
And
I
who made those books up?
That's, you know, one of the things I do on the computer.
Let
I
me
just,
hold
I
that up
just
to the camera so
put
they
it
can
up
see some of
and-
these illustrations.
Oh, it's some fabulous
So you
stuff.
did these. You put these books together once they were
right.
done.
So I lay it out on the computer, put their drawings into the computer, and then lay it out on 11 by 17 paper, so the copy center can just make up the books.
Well, they are very lucky to
Very
have you and all your
inexpensive and-
expertise, not
Yeah.
just storytelling and singing, but being able to do all of this. They must be so proud when this is done.
You know, that's the thing. Every kid gets to take home a coloring book from a story they wrote, you know. And the other thing is, it makes great instructional material, you know, because now when you talk about grammar and sentence structure and those kind of things, you have a context of something that they created, you know.
That's true.
And it means something to them. You know, it's not abstract. It's not Dick and Jane running down the street. It's something
See Spot Run, right?
Right. It's something
Exactly.
that has meaning and context that, you know, that they have that much more interest and feel that much more compelled to do it in a way that takes that next step and makes it publishable, makes it communicative according to the right rules and regulations. Of
grammar. And
you know. So I think it's very valuable. And at the heart of it is, what I'm really interested in doing is having kids see themselves as creators of content rather than as consumers. You know what I mean?
I like that.
And that's whether it's books, whether it's movies and animations, and to have them know that they can create this stuff and not just sit back and absorb it. You know?
And how wonderful to be able to not only work on this, but then to hold something in your hands that you know that you participated in. The sense of pride there. I can imagine that there are some students that might never have taken this creative step without your help and without your encouragement, because sometimes they think they can't do it if they're not what we consider to be a creative type, if you're not an artist. And I think sometimes those children get lost in the school system if they're not given something like this and some encouragement that they can do it. I know I see that with my own storytelling students where they're performing, and I always have every year, you know, a parent or a grandparent or even a teacher say, I can't believe they're up there on stage. I never anticipated they would be able to do that. And I find, and I'm sure you have in your work, that students who participate in something like this, they end up becoming peer leaders because of the confidence they get.
Sure, and teachers are always surprised at the kids that shine, you know, whether it's by writing a story or there was a boy, I was at another elementary school, Conway, no, not Conway, Ashfield, Mass. And there was a boy in this particular class who, half the time he wasn't even there because he's always been shipped off for getting in trouble or this and that. Wrote the best story, got to stand up and do his story in front of the entire school, you know, at the end of the session and stuff, you know. It surprised everybody.
I think the children, I know I have in my work, that the children who sometimes have the most difficulty in class are the ones that shine in these kinds of programs.
Yeah, just give them a chance to shine.
Give them a chance, and they have a little bit more latitude to find what their strengths are.
Sure.
So how many residencies do you do a year?
Probably about 6.
So
you know, I try. Yeah.
And are you there for a week, a month, or does it change depending on the school?
Mass Cultural Council has this great program now, STARS, and these STARS residencies really make it possible for schools to do a lot more. So I end up with 10-day residencies where the school might have been able to afford 5. You know, but this at no cost to the school, Mass Cultural Council.
So if someone wants to bring you to their school, and I hope they do, how would they reach you?
www.folktales.net.
Great. And you can go on there and get all of your information and get booking information and bio information. I'm so excited about this project. This is great. Thank you for coming in today and sharing it with us. Genius, absolute brilliant genius. And I hope that you will join us next time on the Story Cafe. We have, as you can tell from today, wonderful guests that are always sharing their creativity with me and with you. Please join us again next time on the Story Cafe.